Adventure Ho Illumineers, and welcome back to another episode of the Ducktail Dads. I'm one of your hosts, Nathaniel, joined as always by both Mack and Ryan. But tonight we have an incredibly special guest. She is Rebekah Quests. Rebekah, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here with you all.
Yeah, so we'll spend the bulk of this episode talking about Rebekah and her journey with Lorcana and how she has rose to stardom in the Lorcana scene, if you will. But before we get into any of the questions and all the fun answers, we generally like to start our episodes off with a little tidbit about what is new in your world. So I won't catch you off guard with that, Rebekah, right away. I'll start with Ryan and have him go first to share a little bit about what's new in his world. Lorcana, personal life, whatever you want to share.
Thanks, Nathaniel. So what's new in my world? On a personal front, our littlest, just over a year now, he's hitting some milestones, right? We're in the thick of the milestones. So we just got mobile on two legs on our own now. Aww. That was very recent. We're even standing up from sitting now and then moving our legs by ourselves. Just like all of the milestones we're hitting, that's just one of them. And otherwise, we're just day by day going through it. We have a bit of an extended bedtime routine, which is always a blast for all the parents out there, and you know exactly how it goes. I am told many times over that it will change repeatedly over the next few years, and right now we're just in the thick of an extended period bedtime routine. So that's really eating up the most of my nights on a nightly basis, to be quite honest with you. Otherwise, just fitting in some, on the Lorcana front, just fitting in some games here and there wherever I can is really helpful to be able to squeeze in a game or two kind of on lunch breaks or, very late at night after bedtime routine is done if I still have some energy left over. We're still trying to fit in a little bit of, workouts here and there too, so really trying to balance all things and getting excited for set championships, which are so close already, right around the corner. It feels like 3 weeks away now, and then we're in it. We're figuring out, and we're playing fun decks. That's all I got. Mack, what's new in your world?
New in my world, lots going on. I'll start with my personal update for the past week. My youngest is in dance. And this next weekend is his end-of-year dance recital. So he is very jazzed. This past weekend, he had his dress rehearsal. And the first thing he said when he ran off stage, and mind you, he's 3.5. So, first thing he came said, Dad, all the lights on stage, they were pointing at me. I am so excited for next weekend. So that made my heart melt. And in a very happy way, in the sense that, yes, he's found this new hobby that he really likes, and we're excited to see him in costume and performing on stage this upcoming weekend. Lorcana related, my Lorcana update, it was opening weekend last weekend, and all of us, Ducktail Dads, and 2 of our other friends locally, we were able to go to a sealed opening weekend. So that was really fun to go out, Wilds Unknown, full force. I am so jazzed about this set. We've talked a lot recently in the sense of how we love this game and the hook is really set with all 3 of us. And but we have also noticed, unfortunately, that numbers, at least locally, have dropped a little bit. But with this set, and especially this weekend, I feel so re-energized in a way that I haven't felt in probably 3 or 4 sets. And I am so excited to see where the future of Lorcana is going. I think Pixar is a huge win. Everyone wants to be a part of it and can't wait to get their hands on it. So I'm so optimistic now about where Lorcana is going, and this past weekend was just a really good step towards that. So Rebekah, I'm going to pass it on to you now that you have an idea of what new in your world. How about you? What's going on?
Sure. So I feel like there's a lot new, and for me, the personal and the Disney Lorcana have collided. And as of last week, I stepped away from my daytime job where I worked for a nonprofit and doing data operations reporting stuff. And I'm full-time content creator. So this week, you're talking to me on my first week of being a full-time content creator, which is really exciting. Thank you. So that's what's new in my world. We are finishing up the school year with my kids, so that's always a lot. My kids are in middle school and high school, so there's a lot of finals exams. We just had open house for my daughter in middle school, and so lots of fun stuff there. But yeah, I'm getting used to this new schedule and new routine, and I'm looking forward to all the fun stuff to come.
Amazing. Okay, so before we get into our set of questions, I will quickly share my updates. One of the highlights of my pre-release weekend had to have been when we finished up, had a ton of fun, played some Lorcana. The new cards are beautiful. Buzz Lightyear, to infinity and beyond for sure. But afterwards, we went to Perkins, and there's something about like a post Lorcana outing Perkins trip that is just tremendous. Pun definitely intended, because one of their menu items is the Tremendous 12. So that's my latest update. I still have all sorts of cards to get uploaded into my online set or like collection of cards that we got this last weekend. But I gotta say, so fun to see Wilds Unknown cards and some of these characters come to life on those cards, and see them also be really good. So yeah, that was a blast. Pre-release. The boxes, I'll say this too, like it feels like the hit rates were amazing for a lot of people in those pre-release boxes. And so for those who aren't familiar with these, the pre-release boxes are like special boxes that only go to local game stores, right? Like you can't find these at the big box retailers, and they'll say on the box, like pre-release, and it's got 6 packs, a set of 4 dice instead of 6, and then was that it? Just that? Yeah.
Postcard.
6 packs in the dice, and then you got a special promo card. Yeah. You got like one of 6 promo cards. That is also really cool. Yeah, thank you, Mack, for showing it.
And Rebekah mentioned the postcard that you got as a little tidbit of collectability. Oh,
that's right.
Too.
Yeah.
3 different locations. Each one had a postcard from the set. So, and I think a pack rush rule set as well. Just in case you are totally familiar to the game. Here's a pack rush rule set.
Pack rush rules.
Yeah, they're throwing us all the bones. I will say I liked everything about it. My one singular pain point, I think, with the pre-release box was the dice are numbered 1 through 5 with a lore symbol for 6.
For 6.
And that is against what almost like every game has established, right? Like the symbol or like the non-number is almost always the number 1 if you're gonna have that on there. I personally just prefer having dice numbered 1 through 6. But yeah, it was really confusing because like I think I rolled my first high roll to see who goes first my first game, and I rolled that, and somebody was like, okay, you got like a 3, and I was like, actually I got an 8. It's like that's the 6. So yeah, it was kind of funny. So that was a little bit of a fun surprise, but I do also like that every set has different sets of dice, so you can always kind of mix and match as you go. So that was really cool. But anyways, I said I'd make it short, totally didn't. Rebekah, this episode is all about you, and we want to hear all about your story because I think it's one that is really unique and really fun, especially as you just touched on becoming a full-time content creator. That is incredible. Congrats on that transition. But I think let's take it backwards a little while before we kind of get to like where we're at in the present. So what originally stuck out to you and kind of pulled you into Disney Lorcana like as a thing that you wanted to be invested in? And then side question to that is, do you have a history with other TCGs, or is this your first one?
Yeah, so my history with TCGs is actually what got me into Disney Lorcana. So I knowing that I have a 16-year-old, you can guess that I'm my age, I'm a little older. So I was in middle school when Magic first came out, and my parents bought it and got into it and taught me how to play, and I played all through middle school and high school in the 90s. I was the only girl that I knew who played, and my parents would get together with their friends and bring my sister and I along with, and my sister, she would do something else, and I was always playing Magic because I loved it. I fell in love with playing the game. I had a black and blue deck that I loved, and I just really, really enjoyed it. Once I got into college, though, that went by the wayside, and I didn't touch my magic cards for years and years and years, but I had them. And when my son was about, like, I don't know, 7 or 8, I was like, oh, he's probably old enough that he could learn how to play magic. That would be kind of fun. And he kind of was mildly interested. He'd play, like, kind of recess backyard, playground rules, not really playing the game, but they liked the cards and they would trade them and stuff, but he never really got into it. Then fast forward to Disney Lorcana got announced, and the way that I heard about it was somebody said, yeah, did you hear that Disney is putting out a card game that's like similar to Magic? And so I'm a huge Disney fan. I love going to the parks. I love Disneyland. I grew up going to Disneyland because I was raised in Southern California. I love the movies, and I immediately was like, my goodness, okay, I love Disney. I loved playing Magic when I was growing up. These are two things coming together. So I was immediately hooked. And then my son at the time, Caleb, was 13, I think, about when the game was released. And I was like, well, he's definitely old enough now. Maybe this is something that we could play together. And so we picked up the cards. We both learned how to play, and that was it. We were in it, and Caleb loves to play. He still plays with me. Go to weekly league. We go to events. It was those two things: the marrying of a card game with an IP that I am so, there's just so much like sentimentality, like nostalgia, emotional attachment to these characters, these movies, and so that got me hooked from the beginning. And I was all in then, and will be for as long as this game is around. I love it.
To follow up with that, you mentioned that you started from an origin story with Magic, right? And you did point out to the fact that you were the only girl playing there. And one thing that we've noticed between other TCGs and what Lorcana has to offer, really, is that the women community, we see a lot higher percentages compared to other TCGs. So maybe speak on that, the differences that you've noticed between those TCGs, and because what we've noticed as dads, especially knowing that as our kids are getting older, getting interested into Disney, we are excited about eventually teaching our children as well. It's just a friendly IP. I think there's a lot of similarities between families getting into the game, but also that by extension, women in TCGs.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, anecdotally, I would love someday if there were some like actual hard numbers for this. But I think all of us, anyone that's in the Disney Lorcana community, sees anecdotally that Disney Lorcana community is super diverse, that there's lots of women, there's lots of families, there's lots of kids. And of course, that's not to say that there aren't in other TCGs, but more so. Like, I have a friend who she was one of the few women that she knew that was playing Flesh and Blood, and she would go to tournaments all the time. And she's like, when she started playing at Disney Lorcana tournaments, she's like, I have never seen this many women at a TCG event before. Like, it is noticeably different. And I've heard the same thing from other people that play Yu-Gi-Oh! and whatever else. So I think that there is something about the IP that attracts all different kind of people from all different backgrounds. A lot of new players who've never played TCGs before are interested now. And okay, there you go. Yeah. And as far as like women, I feel like because it just feels a lot more like welcoming because of the IP, right? I think that there's something there about it being something that people immediately can connect with at an emotional level, that they're willing to maybe step into a situation that wouldn't, under other circumstances, they maybe wouldn't feel comfortable going into. I also think that there's something about the Disney community. There are tons of people who aren't Disney fans that play Disney Arcana, right? Tons of people who come from TCG backgrounds, or maybe they're becoming Disney fans because of Disney Arcana. But I think you have a lot of people who are Disney people, and there's just something about Disney people, I think, that just people want to create an environment that has that touch of Disney magic and is welcoming and comfortable for everyone. And I think that people feel that when they come into a local game store or go to a pre-release event or a set championship, that you can sense that there is that Disney magic there. And so for women coming into the space, I think that just is something that is felt more so than in other games. I don't know. I don't think that Yu-Gi-Oh is like a magical, is not the word that I think people use for other trading card communities. But I think people call this community magical because there is something there about Disney that makes a difference.
Yeah, something about the graveyard versus the discard pile, I think, tends to be a little bit more welcoming to all.
We banish, that's it. We challenge.
Yeah, they're just glimmers. They're not actual they're not actually entities. They're just glimmers of the characters. I think you mentioned the Disney magic, and I think that's really, really key. And I think Ravensburger is leaning really, really far into it too by making it a very welcoming game and environment for new players to join. Namely, like the pre-release kits now it's very easy for somebody to pick that up and say, I just want to pack rush and see what the characters look like. This is the easy way in with the pack rush rule set. And then beyond that, after you get into it a little bit, then going to like a league night. And every time that I hear about a new store starting a league night, it's always all excitement all the time, and everybody can show up no matter how new you are to games or not. And even if it's an established league night at a store that's been running since the inception of Disney Lorcana and beyond, that anybody new there is going to be welcomed by a whole host of things. And maybe it's just the Minnesota nice mentality that we have, that I've seen here in my local area. But a new player shows up, or a new player gets added to like a Discord channel or a Facebook page or something like that from our area, and they're instantly met with like, hey, here's like a potential welcome packet. Like here's some like a bulk cards I just have extras of from sets 1 through 11, and now you're buying set 12. So like here's all the sets 1 through 11 bulk cards. Through them and pick what you want out. Those type of things of just like the community surrounding a new player and lifting them up and saying like, you can do this, and we're here to support you, and we want to meet you wherever you are, and however often you want to come in, then feel free to join us, and we're here for it. And I love that. The fact that like as a busy dad of very little kids, I don't have a ton of time to carve out of my schedule to get out and get to a regular league night. So when I end up showing up to like pre-release and set championship events, and then maybe the odd league night sometime in between there, and I just feel like, yes, I haven't seen these people in a month or two sometimes, but I still like pick right back up where we left off, and it's cordial and everybody's friendly and having fun and willing to chat and not like super standoffish or anything like that. It's always very welcoming and nice. It's nice to see you and glad you're back again. Those type of things all around, and I love that. One thing that I've also seen kind of following from the background here and the parasocial engagement that you've had on your channel as well, of like just the way that you create your content and you craft your content. This is like compliment time, so just hold on tight. The way you create and craft your content is in a very welcoming and relatable way, and I love that. And it's a very accessible to people and that come across it randomly. I think I started following after I saw you were like casting on one of the events, and I love the energy that you brought. And then just from there, just being able to follow along. So kudos to you on making such great content and making it so easy to access and stay engaged. Feel like I'm staying engaged with the game just through social media interactions rather than actually being able to like play or get out to league nights on a regular basis. So I'm really excited, and I can't wait to hear more about your transition from corporate world to content creator for Disney Lorcana, because that's it's an amazing, interesting transition to be following your passion and really diving into it so heavily. I guess, would you mind talking a little bit about like what those thoughts were, what went through your mind as you were making the transition, and what kind of maybe some of your apprehensions were with making that jump? Because I can only imagine there were a handful of them, and then how you've seen it kind of pay off on the other side of it now, a week into it. I know we're early, but we're just a week into it. But how has that transition been?
Yeah, well, I will start by saying that when I very first started creating content for the game, that I had like two goals in my mind of what I wanted to accomplish with the content that I created. I'll say three. One was I wanted to have fun. Okay, so that's when you're creating content, you have to do things that bring you joy, that you're excited about. And yes, there's ups and downs to content creation, but I wanted to always have fun. So that's a goal no matter what. But the other two important things that I always had in mind from the literally day one was something that you mentioned just now, Ryan, which was I wanted to create content that was welcoming and accessible for everyone, no matter what their skill level was coming to the game. And that was actually one of the reasons why I started creating content, was because I saw a lot of things happening online in the really, really early days where there was a lot of things that weren't welcoming and accessible to especially new players. And so I was like, all right, I see a gap here in what's available as far as content goes. So I want to fill that gap and create something that is accessible to those folks coming in. And then the other thing that I had from the beginning was a goal of I want to create content and do it in such a way that I will hopefully set myself up to catch the eye of Ravensburger, and that maybe perhaps in the future I will have the opportunity to do some kind of official collaboration in some way. And so that was actually a goal that I had from the very beginning, was to position myself and deliver content that was authentically me, that I was having fun, that it was accessible and welcoming, and that would hopefully lead me to some cool opportunities. And in my mind, I was like, in, years from now, that hopefully like years from now, something cool will happen. And I was so fortunate that the first time I got asked to do a card reveal, I was like out of my mind excited. And then when they asked me to be on the official team for broadcasting, it was not something that I had actually, that was not on my bingo card or a goal that I had set for myself. And they talked to me about it at first and said, we know that you're not deep into like the competitive strategy, right? And that's not why we're asking you to be on the team. But you do represent a large portion of the Disney Lorcana community out there that is engaging with the game. And so we want to have a broadcast team that is, representing among all the people who are on the team, represents all the different kinds of players that are out there in the community. And so since I've been able to do the casting and continuing to do my content and grow my platform and all of that, it's been a wild ride, and things have moved much faster than I imagined that they ever would. And between just family and work and then trying to travel for events, it got to a point where I was like, I'm starting to get overwhelmed with all the things that are going on. I think maybe I'm at a point now where I could, though, step away from my job and just focus on Disney Lorcana full time so that I have the space for this, because something's got to give. That's what it came down to. It was like something's got to give. And after lots of conversations with my husband, and I'm very, very, very fortunate that, he has a good, stable job and income that allows me some flexibility to make up the rest of our family budget, that we decided together that it was going to work out for me to step away from my job. And that was probably one of the scariest decisions that I've ever made in my whole life, right? Because we're taught growing up, that's like the thing. You get a stable job, that's the normal American way or whatever. And the idea of being a content creator is something that I was like, that's something people out there do, but now it's me, and now I'm the one doing it. And I feel really confident about the things that I'm doing and the future of where this is going in my decision. And I don't take any of it for granted that I'm able to do this. And I hope to be able to create more content and do more exciting things, travel to more events. I'm going to the Enchanted Citrus Clash, CCQ that's happening in a couple weeks. I'll be down there. And then the DLCs, of course. And there's just a lot of exciting things coming up. So it's been a wild journey, though, and not something that I thought would happen this quickly, but definitely it was something that I was working towards, and I'm so happy that it's here. It's wild.
I will say, as three individuals who are fans of yours, especially watching you on the broadcast and following you on social media, whatever you're doing is working. I am very much entertained with the content that you put out. One of my favorite ones that you put out, and I'll never forget it, was the one where you you had the image of how I shuffle versus how my opponent shuffles their deck, and how like my opponent looks like they're just wizards shuffling their deck, and I'm sitting here just struggling to keep my cards together because I feel that wholeheartedly 100%. I just feel like I can't shuffle a deck very well, and then that one really struck a chord with me, and I laughed out loud for sure.
That's fun.
But one thing that you mentioned, and you kind of got into the next phase of questions with your broadcast, so I'm glad that you jumped into it, but taking one step back, because there's the content creation side and then the broadcasting side. Do you remember the first event that you were a part of, or how did you get into that? What was it like with Ravensburger reaching out, or whoever was running the tournament? Like, how were you able to get your feet wet into that space?
Yeah, the very first event that I did was Disney Lorcana Challenge Atlanta. That was my first event casting. I had not casted before that. And so their team reached out to me and asked if I was interested, and I said, yes. Yes, I am. And we had a conversation from there. It was really interesting though, because for Atlanta, I don't know if you remember this, but they had 2 casters that were on site and 2 casters that were virtual casting. And so Liam and B Squared were on site, and then it was Jaunty and myself that did the virtual casting for that first DLC. So that was interesting, because virtually casting, when you cast online, it's just a very different experience from when you're on site with a person next to you, where you can see like body language and facial expressions, right? And there's, a lot of communication that happens. And so when you're doing it virtually, you kind of miss some of that. And so that was my first experience. But it was, that was it. That was my first time casting. And I think there's 2 things. One, I think that they wanted to have, like I said, a diverse team of people that could speak to all the different players in the community. And also, I think that they were intentional about having a female presence on the team. And I'm so thankful for that. And I've had so many conversations with women or parents of daughters in the community of how important having that representation is. And I'm so thankful now that there are other women who have been on the team, both in North America and in Europe, because I think that is super important. And I think that's something that Ravensburger had in mind from the beginning. And I really, really appreciate that, that Ravensburger is intentionally doing that.
So, Rebekah, speaking of the experience, like when you're actually, so not the virtual, but like when you are on site, like, can you tell us all about like what happens behind the scenes for you, right? Because we've each been to one singular DLC, and it was Milwaukee. And it was a blast, right? But we were there as players, participants. Like, can you talk a little bit about like how that all functions for you, and like what does your schedule look like as someone who's doing casting and hosting?
Chaos. But in the best way, right? But it is some amount of controlled chaos behind the scenes, for sure.
I can totally imagine with that. But one thing I've noticed with that, and specifically maybe behind the scenes, you have originally, I noticed you were playing a lot of the host role as well, in terms of what we're doing in between rounds, as well as the commentating within a round. Do you have a preference? Do you like all of it? Like, what is it like for you? Because I like I said, you tend to be the one that does a lot of both, as opposed to some individuals we've noticed kind of being on more one side versus the other.
Yeah. So definitely, I started out just doing casting in the beginning, and I slowly kind of started getting into doing the interviews and more of the host role. And I love all of it for sure. And I enjoy doing the casting so much. It's a lot of fun, and definitely something that I want to keep doing to some extent. But if I had to choose, I would say I actually enjoy the host role a little bit more. I think it's super fun, talking with the players, doing the interviews, doing the segments in between, hyping up the community, bringing some fun in between those matches, and sharing what's going on at the event, or talking about the new things that are coming, or doing breakdowns or talking about cards in between. And I really, really enjoy that part of it. And if I had to, like, if someday it came down to it and they said, you can only do one, I would probably choose to do the host role more. I really enjoy it. And it does, make a difference behind the scenes too with like how my day is going, because but you're busy no matter what, and it's chaos no matter what. But definitely when you're casting, 3, 4, 5 rounds in a day, like it's mentally draining on you. And there's so much going on. It's because you're thinking all day long. You're using your brain. You're watching what's going on. You're listening to your casting partner. You're thinking about the strategy and the decks and what plays, what cards could be in there and all the different interactions and everything. So it's just really a mental load to be casting all day long. And I feel like with hosting, it's not as much of a mental load as more of a energetic load, I suppose, maybe in a way. And I feel like that is more fun for me to tackle that challenge. Whereas I do, especially if I don't eat, you got to have snacks when you're casting. if I don't eat, then I get to a point where I'm like, my brain is just like not clicking on firing on all 4 cylinders. But so it's a different kind of chaos and a different kind of day that it requires of you something different to be in one role or the other. And yeah, hosting though is a lot of fun. I enjoy it.
So it sounds like, Rebekah, one of the important things is snacks. But do you have any other things that you're like, hey, like you've ritualized in any way of like, hey, I need to make sure I'm doing these things so that this event goes successfully and I have the energy to like go tackle this again tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, definitely snacks. And there's so much prep that goes in ahead of time with studying up on the meta and the decks and the cards and everything like that. So there is some amount of like, autopilot's not the right word, but like, so I have a background in musical theater and performing. That's kind of I did it all growing up. Even once I had kids, I was performing, and that's what I went to college for, was musical theater. And so it's like, you prep and prep and you prep. And so there's a lot of stuff that's done beforehand. And it's like, once you get there, once you're at a DLC, like you're like the rehearsal time is over, And so it's what are the tools and what are the things that you're going to do, like you're saying, like to make it through the day and then be able to come back again and do it tomorrow. Definitely snacks, having a good morning routine. I have like my Disney pump me up music that I listen to. I have lots of spreadsheets of things, and I got excited about the music.
Yeah, what Disney bangers are on that list, Rebekah? We got to know.
Absolutely. What are these? What's this playlist?
Okay, so I do listen to some like actual like Disney songs like from the movies. That is part of it. But like my first thing in the morning when I wake up, it's very silly. But I have a playlist that's like songs from like Disney fireworks shows and like parades and like parks music, because they have some really good music to like get you pumped up and like inspiring. And so that's what a lot of my music is like Disney parks music.
You're living the magic as soon as you wake up.
Right. Yes.
I have a friend that does some like travel planning for Disney, and they literally earlier today posted like, choose your favorite parks music. And I was like, what in the world is this? I didn't even know this stuff existed. And this is like your pump up music. That's incredible. I have to check this out now.
Yes, definitely go check it out. There's a lot of really, really great music from the parks. And then of course you got the Disney music too, that like from the films and everything. You got to get some like, Surface Pressure from Encanto in there and stuff. So those are some things I do. Definitely, I am an extrovert, so being around people in the community at the events like gives me energy. So I just have to make sure that I get enough sleep at night. And then it's like when I'm there, and I'm so jazzed and pumped up to be with the other casters, to be talking to people out on the floor and seeing the energy in the room and feeling all of that, and that kind of like fuels you through the day. So as long as I got my snacks, I got my notepad, I'm taking notes throughout the day, and we have we're getting like a good rhythm too with the team of like how these events run, to go through the days, and it, like I said, controlled chaos.
Yeah, Rebekah, can you speak to that? Like maybe how over the course of the last 2 years that has really changed with in terms of like maybe being a little bit more organized or what things have changed over the last 2 years to make it run more smoothly.
Yeah, I think that we have really honed in on like what we want the broadcast to be for the people that are watching and like what people get excited about. And, we want to show as much gameplay as we can. And we want to, and then when we can't show gameplay, when we're in between rounds, we want to have engaging, interesting segments going on. And sometimes that's going to be like a deck breakdown, but sometimes it's going to be something fun, like guess the card drawing, like draw the card, fun stuff to break up the, the competitive, heavy stuff, with something fun. So I feel like that's part of it is like we've really dialed in on what do we want? Because it's for us, for the team and the production and the folks at Ravensburger that are part of that, a part of bringing it to life it is like a show. It's a show, it's a production. And so really having a clear picture and everyone's moving in the same direction and working together with the production team on all the technical things that are going behind the scenes and transitions and all of that. It's just gotten smoother and smoother with each event. And we're able to deliver all of the engaging content and bring the gameplay. And we have some amazing, incredible people that are on this team, Liam and JDZ, Katie, Brent. Baker is fantastic. The team over in the EU. Kim was a new person on the team this year, especially Ross. Also, like we have people on the team that are just incredible members of the community also that are developing in their roles as casters, myself included, like I said, my first time casting was the first DLC. So I think also that's part of it is that all of us as casters and hosts are growing with the DLCs as well. So, and I think the players have felt it on the other side, right? I think that every DLC has gotten better and better as time has gone on. And that's very true for the production broadcast side of it as well. And I know that it's going to even keep improving with each event. I'm excited for these next two that we have coming up, Dortmund and Indy. They're going to be, are you guys going to be in Indy? Maybe?
No. We can't make
Sadly,
it.
no.
Milwaukee was definitely one of our banner events.
Yeah.
And I do have a note about that, but we'll talk about that later. But yeah, Indy was definitely on the horizon, but I think for all of us, it's like summertime, kids just getting out of school, and it's just like, I know I'm having a vacation, and it's like, it's definitely a bummer, but we've already kind of like promised to ourselves, like season 3, when that is announced, we're going to do everything in our power to get to one of those DLCs for sure. But we were spoiled coming from the Midwest. Like there were 2 in the Midwest, and we are not anticipating that this in season 3. I think they're going to go, my prediction is they're going to have it more on the coasts to kind of balance out the love, but who knows, maybe we'll get lucky again. But Ryan, I know you had your finger up, so I want you to jump in here.
Yeah, you mentioned the segments, and I think one of the segments that I've personally enjoyed the most is not as common, since it's mostly just JDZ consuming food as efficiently as possible. I try to take some notes to figure out how I can consume food more efficiently too. We had him on the podcast a few weeks back, and he was an incredible personality to talk to, and I just loved hearing his perspective on the what food should be and how to eat it as efficiently as possible. And so I love that y'all do that. And I love when y'all also try to join in the fun with him and try to one bite an Uncrustable or whatever it is that the flavor of the weekend is. It's special. I wanted to focus more and ask you a little bit more about your prep for casting and like how you study the meta and how do you get engaged with it, and how do you make sure that you are prepared from that perspective for your big weekends and your time in front of the camera.
Yeah. And the best part about prepping is that it's just more Lorcana, right? Which that's why we're all here, is because we love Disney Lorcana. Definitely, building the decks and playing them at home. Luckily, I have, my son plays, so we can play the decks together and test them out and get familiar with the strategy, how the gameplay is and all of that. And then we are fortunate as a community to have some really incredible content creators out there, right? Breaking down the meta, doing the deck techs for us. So I'm watching a lot of those videos from other content creators on YouTube and the podcast that are really up with, week by week doing the tournament breakdowns and what's going on. And then I'm also just I study the cards a lot because for commentary, that's the main thing that we want to make sure that we're familiar with what decks are going to be coming, but also just the cards and what they do, right? So that when I see a card visually, that immediately I know, oh yeah, that's Elsa the Fifth Spirit, and she's a 5-cost Inkable, and she's a 2/5, and she evasive rush, and all of that. It's like so that you can immediately just visually, kind of ramble all of that off. So I've had different ways of studying the cards. And the most helpful for me and for anyone else who wants to study cards, if you want, is literally I just pull them out of my collection and I sleeve them up, and I have like a quote unquote like deck of my study cards that I use like flashcards, and I just go through them and read them, or I like hide the text and just like look at the the art and see if I can in my mind rattle them off, and that's how I study the cards, and that's. Yeah, I do. The hardest thing, one of the hardest challenges for me is learning like the matchups and stuff. But there are other people on the team who are really good about knowing some of that information and the more like in-depth strategic analysis kind of thing. Because we have on the team, there's kind of like those different roles that people bring, play by play versus like the people that are doing like the really deep analysis. So a lot of that stuff I lean on some of my co-casters to bring that to the table. But yeah, that's what I'm doing to prep.
So follow-up question with like once you're all there, you've done all the dress rehearsal stuff, everything's ready to go. One parallel I'd love to make, Rebekah, because you mentioned the background in musical theater. And I feel like there's so many other aspects to a musical production that are maybe underappreciated, or maybe on the surface, you don't necessarily think about it because you're focused on that, the 4 people who are on stage at this exact moment under the bright lights.
Yeah.
Are there, what are some areas where maybe these behind the scenes people that help put together a DLC that maybe we as a community like don't really get to see, but they're super important to like making this all possible?
Oh yeah, there's definitely a parallel there for sure. All of the quote unquote invisible people behind the scenes that are making it happen. Also, side note, Mack, I love that your son is in a dance production. That just makes my heart so happy. And his comment about all the lights being pointed at him. I love
It was all thanks to my wife. She's the dancer. She's danced for her entire life, and she actually teaches at the studio my son is at. So
oh, sweet.
I'm just the supportive dad in this stage. My wife is the dance lover, and that's where he's got that love of it too from mom. So
that's incredible. I love that. That's how I started, was doing dance. So I started doing dance and then went into theater and stuff. And yeah, there's with the DLCs, I mean, even the whole, staff that puts the whole event together, the tournament organizers and all the lore guides that are there and everything. But if you were to like peek behind the curtain of the broadcast area, there's like a dozen people back there. There's like so many people doing different things. There's all the setup with the cameras, and there's wires everywhere and all of the technical equipment to set that all up and everything. And then people running all different sorts. I don't even know what everybody's doing on all the computers back there. And you do have the lore guide team that's there to make judge calls and whatnot and watching the feature match. You have, people running the visuals, all the names or putting the card reader, like we have somebody that is truly one of the unsung heroes of the broadcast, is the person running the card viewer, because that is helpful for the audience watching. And it's also helpful for us too, because, sometimes we don't know all of the, we don't have every single card memorized down to a T. So if the person running the card reader pops it up there, that's super helpful for even us. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of action going on behind the scenes, and both in the European and the North American DLCs, we have some incredible production teams that we are working with to bring it all to life. And they also are, like I mentioned before, every broadcast is getting better and better, and they're learning as well and growing and bringing an excellent broadcast, but definitely lots of people behind the scenes.
That's so amazing. Yeah, and it's definitely shown through, to your point about getting better and better and better. It visually, as an audience member, you see that. And I think one of the true turning points. And I don't know if it was the preparation time due to the gap between, for example, like the North American Championships to Worlds. Like Worlds was truly a step up that you could just tell. And then ever since then, it's just, you've been on this amazing trajectory from a production standpoint. It's been absolutely incredible from a viewership perspective. But
That's great to hear.
I come from the realm of project management, and I deal with daily chaos. That's like my job by day. And you mentioned the word chaos so many times here so far in this episode right now, and I want to know more about that. Specifically, like, is there a moment on stream that you can recall to memory that was just either like completely unexpected, or like what's the like most chaotic moment that you can recall that maybe you were a part of directly on stream or maybe during an interview? Can you recall anything like that?
Yeah. I don't know if there's ever anything on stream. It's more like the timing of everything. That's where the most chaos, I think, is, because you have, the stream is going, we have games going, once a round gets paired, they're picking feature matches, and then we have to go get them. And then what decks are they on, and who are the players' names? Is it somebody notable, or is there a really, if once they put the pairings up, is there a super interesting matchup? Like, are Zan and Ed playing each other? Then they should be on stream because people want to see that, and then it's like, grab them before they start playing. Oh no, they already start playing. Get somebody else, and then they come in and we're doing a live segment, in the lounge, but now the casters are, so it's all that, like, the timing of things that is going on stream. Though, I don't know that there was ever any like chaotic moment on stream that I can recall. There's been definitely some fun, unexpected, like surprise moments, or on a game, there's always fun things that happen in game that are really surprising. But luckily, nothing truly chaotic on stream.
Yeah, and I guess I pigeonholed you in the on-stream context, because one thing that a core memory for me from Milwaukee for sure was the 10-year-old beating the world champ. And
yes.
we were, all three of us were like 5 feet away. I think his name was Aiden.
Aiden.
Yeah, we were like 5 feet away from that, and we just heard the eruption there, and I thought that was really cool. And I think that was the moment where all of us were like so tired, end of day 2. But I think that was like, wow, this is a fun community. This is something that will be stored in my Lorcana core memory bank forever. Was that specific moment. And not only like him winning, but we talk a lot about, like, we grew up, the three of us, we grew up in traditional sports. So like we are naturally like competitive people. Like we want to win. Just based on that, of how we grew up. And he beat the world champ, like DKP, and he's got to be super competitive. But we also talk about, like, winning is something we want to do, but what's I think even more important is like losing with grace. And the fact that DKP was able to lose with such grace and, give him pointers at the end of the match too. I thought that was just an incredible moment that I will never forget. And I was glad to at least witness it.
Yeah. We have such a cool community. Like, the players that you see and you hear their names all the time. Like, I have been so fortunate to be able to get to know so many of them. I interview a lot of them at the events and chat with them in between rounds when I see them. And all of them, I've not had a bad interaction with the, like the quote unquote star players that the community is familiar with. They're all here to win, of course. And like you said, very, very competitive. And yet at the same time, very generous with their time, with their skills and knowledge, supporting other players, not just their friends, but like you said, in that instance of DKP, supporting this young player, and we are very fortunate to have so many wonderful players that are at the top that represent the game well, which is really, really cool to see.
So before I ask my question on kind of following up to that, Rebekah, I do also want to clarify. Both day 1 and day 2, Mack is speaking for himself because they had to drag me out of the hall both days because I probably just would have stayed until we got kicked out.
Sure.
I was thriving on the people interactions.
Like, yes,
but anyway, anyways, follow-up question to kind of that piece about like the community, right? You speak about interacting with the highest players that, in the game, world champions, the people, multi-time DLC winners, right, that you've been able to interview and hear their thoughts, and they're so welcoming with their knowledge. Do you think that there are certain elements to both those players and the wider Disney Lorcana community that really sets it apart from other TCGs beyond just maybe the Disney magic? Is there anything else there that you see?
I think, yes, the Disney magic for sure. And I think also, whether it's directly because of that or something else, what I have seen in the community, broadly speaking, ever since the beginning, is very much kind of this like self-monitoring that happens within the community, that there's just a lot of intention across the community about creating a space that is like that is supportive and positive. And it's not to say that the community is perfect, by any means, but there is a lot of like calling out of like blatantly toxic behavior. I think that there's just a lot of people in the community that are like, yeah, it's not perfect, but we are striving for this community to be this thing, and that we're going to work towards that and make sure that everybody who's a part of this community is also on board with that idea. It feels like this like kind of unspoken thing that has infiltrated the entire community. And so I think that the players who continue to be in Disney Lorcana and continue to play the game and go to tournaments are like, yeah, I'm on board with that. I am on board with making this community, a really great thing, and that there's an understanding that it is each individual person contributing to that will make the community continue to get better and better and be a welcoming and positive place for all different kinds of players. So I feel like there is that, somehow, I don't know how it happened, whether it's the Disney magic or something else, that's just kind of been this like self-monitoring thing, and people are opting in to it. And I think that that's what we see.
Yeah, so I think that leads me to my next question for you, Rebekah, which is, this self-policed and, really great community obviously enjoys you a lot. And you, I'm sure, have had many a fan interaction at this point in your casting career and everything. Can you share like any ones that maybe stand out to you where like somebody approached you or something that was very memorable from any type of, time where you met with someone in person?
Yeah, it will never not be weird to me that people recognize me and want to come up and say hello or whatever. I'm a little more used to it now, I guess is the way of saying it, but it always is still like wonderful, it's wonderfully surprising. I will say that. And definitely the very, very first time that somebody came up to me, I was like, whoa, like that, a person that I didn't know who they were, had never seen before in my life, that they walked up and knew who I was. That was the first time that I was like, oh, okay, there's something going on here. But the one interaction that will definitely always, always stay with me, like for as long as I do Lorcana, was in Seattle at the Seattle DLC. There was a couple moms that I met, and their daughters were, I don't know, maybe around like the 8 to 10 age or something. And they had both been playing like in the main event and stuff, but it was like day 2 and they were just like hanging out and doing stuff. And I was talking to the mom, and she was just sharing with me about like, my daughter watches the broadcasts because you're there and she sees herself in you, and just like talking about how important that representation of having a woman on the cast, and it, like, and the mom like was starting to cry about it, and it made me all teary-eyed, because it's like it was just like super, super meaningful to like hear that the mom share that story, and how important that was, not just for her daughter, but for her as a mom, to like see her daughter have someone in this space to look up to. And as a mom myself, I'm like, yeah, that is any, whether it's my son or a daughter, I have both. I want them in any space that they want to be in, to be able to see people at the top that they can identify with and that they feel like they belong. And that's like something that's really big to me, is like making sure that people feel like they belong. And so anytime that somebody shares a story like that, where if I've ever said or done anything that made somebody feel like they belong here, I'm like, that just like means everything to me. And so anytime those kind of stories are shared, it's just really, really wonderful. And I know that I'm not the only one that has that impact on people in the community, but I'm really, really grateful that what I do can have some of that impact in people feeling like this is a space for them.
Yeah, I think I would echo that is a towering strength of yours, that it really shows in the way that you do navigate interviews with players and people at the venues. It does feel very welcoming, open, and just like a very safe space. So kudos to you for creating that, because I do think...
Thank you.
I don't think that's lost on the wider Lorcana community. I think that's definitely something that warms us being able to watch these streams.
Thank you. And I love doing it. Like I said, I was in from the beginning, and I will continue to be in as long as this game is around. And I hope to keep making content and hopefully keep doing DLCs for as long as possible.
Yeah, Rebekah, do you feel, speaking of kind of like continuing to do this and being a recognizable face now, do you ever feel any type of pressure or like nerves like before any of this? Because people do know who you are, and you do have like a reputation for, sticking the landing all these other times that you've been out there.
Yeah, I will say for me, and I think that this is true for anyone who's creating content in the space, there is definitely pressure there in multitude of ways. I definitely early on, and when I say early on, let's see, when was Inklands was the first set champs, right?
Yeah.
With the Stitch, that was Inklands, right?
Yep.
So I had to, around then, really struggle through the idea of, I'm a content creator and it's okay if I don't go to an event and win, right? And I'm not a grinder. I'm not grinding the competitive Disney Lorcana scene. That's not me. And yet, at the same time, when I went to my first set championship event, I felt like I had to perform well, like I had to have good results because I'm a content creator. And that if I did not win enough games, then I was like a failure as a content creator of like, here I am talking about this game and helping other people learn how to play, and yet I can't win, these games myself. So that was definitely something that I had to work through of like, and that wasn't pressure that anybody else was putting on me. It was myself, right? And so I had to work through all of those thoughts and figure out, what is the right amount of pressure that I should be putting on myself? Because there is some that is, that is there, that is valid, that is reasonable. But then, is there any extra pressure that is unreasonable that I'm putting on myself, and trying to figure out what those things are. And then, content wise, definitely there's always kind of the pressure to like keep creating things that will make people laugh, that'll keep, people engaged. And, there's the algorithm, and, social media is the machine that you're like always trying to figure out what the heck it's doing. What is the algorithm doing? I don't know. But I pretty early on also, like I said, one of my goals was to always just be doing what I enjoyed and have fun. And yes, I look at the numbers, and yes, I, see, like where my follower count is or the engagement rates and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And like, it's not that those things aren't important to me. I do pay attention to them, but it's more important to me that I'm creating things that I am excited about and make me happy. And that if I'm doing that, then that's like more quality success, if that makes sense. Like I would rather have a reel on Instagram that I put out that I just had so much, like, I don't know if you saw the reel I made yesterday. I was like, I turned a Shakespeare monologue into being about Disney Lorcana. Like from Hamlet. To ink or not to ink? That is the question, right? And it was so ridiculous and silly, but I had so much fun. I'm like, I don't know if anybody else is going to like this, but I'm having fun doing it. And so I'm going to do it and put it out there. And if people like it, they do. And if they don't, they don't. And I'm okay with that, and a lot of times those reels that I spend a lot of time doing that I'm excited about aren't always the best performing reels that I do as far as content goes. But that's okay because I'm doing what I love and what I enjoy, and that fuels me to keep going.
Okay, I feel like now that you've mentioned this, Rebekah, I would love to just share one particular thing that you would put out there that really hit home for me, and I was really laughing hard at it. It was a while ago, actually. But it was your son shuffling the cards in his hand, like while he was holding them.
Oh, the flicking.
Yes. And I want to call this out because I know that we have tons of players of all experience like listening to this right now. And it was probably over a year ago or even 2 years ago where like I'd seen that phenomenon of that. And I was just kind of like, that's interesting.
What is happening?
And I didn't really know like what it was about. And eventually I'd gotten enough courage to ask one of our previous guests on the show, Ernie, who is a very seasoned Magic player, and Christian, another seasoned TCG player. And I just asked them straight up with no fear of like, what is this going to make me look like if I ask this question? What are you guys doing when you're doing that? When you're flicking the cards so fast? And Christian was like, he just like laughed and he had said, I think some people would maybe say that it's like when you're doing that, you're shuffling the cards around so they can't necessarily tell what's the card I just grabbed off the top, right? Like there is some degree of like strategy there. And then he was like, but honestly, it's probably just that we like fidgeting. And like, I think it's just so funny because like your version of that felt like me, where you were like looking with this face of like, what are you doing? And like
happening?
They're flicking around, flick, flick, flick. And it's like, it is kind of distracting, but like at the same time, it's like pretty normalized. And I even find myself doing a much poorer version of it nowadays that I've been around the scene long enough. But that one in particular, I just thought you guys absolutely nailed it. It was so funny. And I was like, I think that was one of the first times too that I was like, I want to be able to like watch these and like laugh. Like there's some satire here that we can like go after. And it seems like you've really nailed that space too.
Thank you. Well, I don't know if you remember one of my favorite reels that I've ever done, which it's so funny, like with Instagram and social, it moves so fast, right? So I've created a lot of videos on Instagram, but one that always sticks out to me was, I won't go into all the context, but maybe you'll remember the context. But I did a reel about the bag and the broom and and the bounce and all of that. And that's what it was. It was satire of like, okay, this thing happened in the community. I don't need to make a reel that's like serious about this, but like there's a teaching moment here and we can laugh about what happened, or whatever, and talk about it in this way. And, people can learn something or other people can laugh. And that was one reel that I definitely really enjoyed making.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that we've observed too, right, is like there is an element of the TCG where it's really competitive and people want to win and that's great, and there's a hyper competitive scene that has a niche too, but like at the end of the day, so many people are around this community and this game because it's fun. And so I think when you're able to find situations that might be more serious and find the fun in them, I think that's some special sauce, and I think you've definitely found that recipe.
Thank you.
I do want to spend a few minutes just chatting about picking your brain, I suppose, more so about like where do you think and where do you hope the game of Disney Lorcana progresses or trends towards over the next 2 years and maybe over the next 5 years and beyond that. Like, what do you hope for the game? What do you hope to see in the game? If you want it to be like mechanics changes with specific cards or card text, or community-based changes, like where do you hope to see the game going over the next couple of years? And then also then separately 5 years and beyond, what do you hope for the game at that stage as well?
Yeah, I I think that this game already has such a strong foundation, like game design wise, and I can't wait for what the team has in store in the future for us. The beauty that I see in the game right now then I'll get to like future is that to me, it's very easy for somebody to come in and learn the basics of how to play Disney Lorcana. Like the basic interactions, how, the inking, how to play, how to challenge quests, all of that. Like it's so easy for somebody to come in, learn the basics. And yet they've developed a game that can be as complex as you want it to be. And like to me, it's very much like chess. Like you can learn the basics of chess and how the pieces move, and you could play a basic game of chess, but like there's so much deep strategy involved and complexity. And so I think that as they develop the game, I definitely hope that whatever cool mechanics that they have that they add into the game, whether it's new keywords, new abilities, the different card types and whatnot, that they maintain that like entry, like basic level, right? I think that there could possibly be the danger of the game getting to like overly complex where somebody who is brand new maybe feels a little too overwhelmed. And so I definitely hope that as they develop the game that they keep the base level still fairly simple for new players coming into the game. That being said, I would love to see like new card types. The last time that we had a new card type was with the locations, which was set 3, right? And so I think that there is that's something that and I don't even know what that could be. I don't know. I know people have talked about like tokens or like from other games, or I don't know what other card type that the game could have, but I think that would be something really cool to have a new card type introduced into the game. Another thing that I would personally love to see, and I don't know if they will ever do it or if it would ever make sense, and it probably never will, but just like how we got dual inks, it would be cool to have like a ink that was like a universal ink kind of card where a card could go into any ink pairing, any deck. I think that is also something that I would really love to see in the game.
That'd be cool.
What else? As far as like the game more broadly speaking, outside of game design, I think that I would love to see more support from Ravensburger for like social play, for non-competitive play. I think that they have done a really good job at supporting competitive play at all different levels. You have set champs at the local level all the way up to DLCs and CCQs even now. And I'm sure that they'll continue to develop that and what premier play looks like and all the different levels for the competitive players and that scene. And there's such a strong foundation for competitive play, and I'm sure that will continue to grow. But I would love to see more support for social play. And, we do have like Illumineer's Quest, the co-op version of Disney Lorcana. And, and again, I'm not even exactly sure what that looks like. Is it things at the local game store, like weekly play, like support there for different formats? Is it a new format? I'm not sure, but I think there's a lot of room for growth there. And especially for people who are newer coming into the game that are Disney fans and maybe don't care so much about like super competitive play, but are like, I just want to build a Madrigal's deck and play, or I want to build, a villains deck with all my favorite villains and play, and like creating spaces where people can do that and have fun, I think is something that I would really love to see in the game as well. Because honestly, that's one of my favorite ways to play. I do love competitive play. I do love a good Ruby Amethyst deck when it was good. But I love a theme deck. And so having spaces where I could, with the current set, making a toys or a supers, I want to make an Incredibles deck and take it to play somewhere, or a Chip and Dale, that's the kind of thing that I would love to see.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's something that out of the three of us, I think I have been the most critical of, in the sense of people love playing strong cards all the time. Like, I get that point, but having the thematic and pulling in, I think one of the core themes of this game in Disney is just having those fun interactions with Frozen, or those fun interactions with Moana and things of that nature, and building those fun decks. However, like, as much as I've been critical in the last 11 sets, this 12th set, I think, is really starting to turn the corner with that, like with toys and supers to what you mentioned before. And I can only imagine, knowing that what's around the corner in terms of the upcoming sets, like with Monsters Inc. and Coco, what have you, like those themes are only going to get stronger. I will say, looking ahead, I think one thing that's been a little bit, I don't want to say like Black Cloud, but again, this is coming from a, critical perspective, always continuous improvement. But like a lot of people have had some clashing opinions about what happened with Fabled and rotation. And I think one thing that is critical here with another rotation just around the corner is like ensuring that we're maintaining those themes, like there's true intention with what reprints they are planning for in the future, and not just kind of like the randomness that we saw with Fabled. As important as a rotation is, I think one of the biggest criticisms of that was the random nature of those cards. So, but I've been thoroughly impressed since Fabled, like with each set that has been released since then. Like they've hit a lot of home runs recently, and I am so, like, to my very first point in this episode, like I am so excited about the future, and I feel rejuvenated, especially with this last set, and excited to see where this goes for sure.
Yeah.
One thing I'm hoping to see, just as I can interject a little bit too, in like the 5 to 10 year plus time frame, is that Disney Lorcana maintains this longevity or finds longevity and is sticking around for the entirety of that time frame, and kind of becomes the next Magic, if you will. Magic's been around for what now, almost 30 years, is that
30
right?
30 years, I think, around there.
I mean, that's just crazy longevity, and I really hope that Lorcana is able to capture that and maintain that going forward. And I do think that there's great opportunity for it to do so, and likelihood of it doing so as well, because I think it's a very well designed game. It's a very well crafted game. It's engaging. And then above and behind it all is the incredibly sustainable and stable Disney IP as well, that everybody, as you mentioned much earlier, that everyone has this opportunity to connect with, and that is a very starting point for a lot of people, is just connecting with the card or playing with the character that they've idolized for so long. From the silver screen onto the cardboard in front of us. So I think that's really cool, and I'm really hopeful that Lorcana is able to capture that sustainability and capture that longevity piece to be a consistent game for years to come. And I do think that rotation, as Mack was just talking about, is a huge part of that, because I think that keeps the core constructed experience fresh, and then it also adds the opportunity for Infinity to kind of be this blossoming and ever-present presence of a format as well, kind of in the background, growing as the game grows, while the core constructed still maintains this like limited focus, a little bit more digestible and easily digestible for that matter.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, well said, Ryan. We do have some really fun rapid fire questions that are just going to be off the cuff at the very end here.
Okay.
But before we do that, it would be a shame if we didn't allow you to talk about your family with Lorcana, because that seems to be a very important input to what your content is. Your family life, including your son into the game as well, and they seem to be very well engaged into your content as well. That's been really fun to observe. How has that connection really blossomed with you and your son, or you mentioned your daughter, like just your family in general with your content side, and how that your relationships have really, grown as a result of Lorcana?
Yeah. I love the fact that my son enjoys playing, and I'm so happy that he still enjoys playing. He doesn't play quite as much these days. He's a junior in high school, so there's a lot of school activities and stuff. He's in leadership, and he's going to the football games and doing all the high school stuff and everything. But he still enjoys the game, and we still play together, and we open cards together. And for me as a mom, especially with a son, I think that as my son has gotten older, definitely there's fewer and fewer things that I felt like we had in common to like connect on as a mother and a son. And so having Disney Lorcana be a thing that could bring us together and keep our relationship, that we have time to spend together and had something to talk about, has really been a wonderful part of all of this. I don't know what our relationship would look like without Disney Lorcana. I don't know if I can't even imagine it, because it's, like I said, he was 13 when he started playing, and, being able to, chat in the car about not just Lorcana, but anything, that's going on in his life as we're on our way to a Disney Lorcana event. Like, it's given us opportunities to stay connected in general, not just around the game, but just about, he feels comfortable talking with me about stuff, and we have the space and the opportunity to do that because of Lorcana. And so that's been really, really special. He does enjoy now and then being in the reels, as long as it's not too cringe, as he says. And every once in a while he's like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm like, okay, fine. But I love the fact that he's a 16-year-old boy and he's willing to do goofy things with his mom and put it on the internet where his friends could possibly see it, right? Because they're all, and how the algorithm works, like, it'll show things, or he'll even show them sometimes, like, and he's not embarrassed to say that I do this, and he'll show his friends, like, my Instagram account, and he's kind of like proud that, like, his mom is, like, famous in Disney Lorcana or whatever. And, like, that's so cool. Like, that is so cool that my 16-year-old son is, like, not embarrassed to talk about his mom to his friends. That to me is just really, really special. My daughter, she is not really interested. I've tried getting her to play some Disney Lorcana, and both her and my husband have played a little bit, but aren't really into the game, but they are so supportive of what I do. Hannah, my daughter, she'll help with reels sometimes behind the scenes. She threw a box at Caleb's head the other day, actually. She was on camera for that. She threw a trove box.
Sounds like an incredible activity for anybody to get started with reels.
Exactly. Yeah. And my husband, he'll help me out with things. And he, out of anyone in our family, obviously my husband has been the most supportive of me, being a content creator, traveling, taking care of the kids when I'm gone and all of that. And it's definitely, I have in the past been known to be a serial hobbyist, where I kind of jump around from this to that to the other thing. And when I very first started Disney Lorcana stuff, it was kind of like this is mom's new hobby for the next 3 months, and then she'll be done with it. And here I am now, 2.5, almost 3 years later, still going. I think, he quickly realized, this is more than just a passing fad. This is like something that you're serious about and having fun with, and has been super supportive of everything that I've done with it. So, and it's okay that he doesn't want to play Disney Lorcana. It'd be wonderful if he and my daughter did, but he has his own things too that I support him with. And so, but having my son be a part of it is really, really neat. And I hope that someday you guys will get to teach your kids how to play. I know it's a few years away, but there is definitely something special about sharing a hobby and something you love with your kids, and that you can get excited about it together. Like, there's so much joy in that.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And to your point, like, my oldest he knows when I wear this shirt specifically is like, oh, Dad, you're going out to do Lorcana? I'm like, yes, I am. And
yes, I am.
He's getting a little bit more curious about it. One thing that the three of us do, along with our 2 other friends that are involved, like the 5 of us, we rotate once a month who hosts a night. And I know in doing that, our families have connected just on a general sense. And you could tell, like, whoever hosts, like, the kids are very much involved for at least the first 20 minutes. Like, ooh, what is this shiny cardboard in front of me? And can I be involved somehow? Can I hold the wrapper of the pack that you just opened? So that's been a really, really fun way to get our families connected, and at least seeing what Dad is being interested in. That's been really cool. So let's close with some fun. We do have some rapid fire questions for you before we wrap up the show here. It's like 9 or 10 questions. And the way I envision it is we'll just rotate the 3 of us, just 1, 2, 3, and just go around, and then first thing on top of your head, let's give the people what's right away on your right on top of mind for this. So I'll go first. Do you have a favorite ink color or ink combination?
Ruby Amethyst is my favorite ink combination.
All right,
Yeah.
all right. I'll go next. I am going to jump a little bit up in our questions, Mac. If you could commentate any fictional Disney battle, what would it be?
Oh, like an existing one from like a movie, you mean? Or
Yes.
between any
like
two?
From one of the
Oh,
movies.
that's a really interesting question. I would have to say Maleficent and Prince Philip
Ooh.
dragon battle. Like that
Love that.
is like such an epic Disney battle. That would be the one.
All right, what's your favorite enchanted card?
Oh, gosh. Okay, that's gonna be hard because there's some good new ones. But it's gonna. Does iconic? Can I say an iconic, or is that a separate category?
Let's do it.
That
We'll
can
count.
count.
Okay.
That can count.
Okay. Because the Ariel iconic is my favorite.
Sure.
Oh.
Ariel's my favorite princess, and I love that card so much. And her Enchanted, the Sonic Warrior Enchanted, actually is pretty cool too.
Yeah, as someone
I
who's
do like
become
that
a
card.
Sapphire Steel lover, the Sonic
She's
Warriors, I love that build, and I can definitely
Yeah.
definitely know where you're coming from with that one. So with that, I am the collector of the three of us. Do you have a prized item in your Lorcana collection? And if so, what is it?
Okay, so I have two. I'm going to say two. One is my Ariel iconic card that I have. I love her so much. And the other is that I'm actually trying to collect all of the Encanto enchanted cards. And so I have a lot of them so far. That there were like 4 new ones that came out in Wilds
Yeah.
Unknown. So I have a ways to go. But I have 2 of them from this set though already. So,
Whoa.
yes, we pulled one and traded for another one. So I love my Encanto collection of cards.
Incredible. In your opinion, what is the most underrated card in the game?
Oh, okay. I'm gonna go with an Infinity card, so you can't play it in Core. But what is his subname? It's the Ruby Prince Eric, where when he's banished, you get to banish any other character. And I love that card so much, and no one hardly ever plays it. And Prince Eric, expert helmsman. And
Yes.
I always snuck that into my decks, and people were never expecting it. And I loved that. And they'd look at the card. Oh, okay. Yeah.
And he quests for 2, right?
Yes, he quests for 2. So you just quest for 2 and go, what are you gonna do?
That card is super mean. Also, Rebecca, total side tangent here, but I am so glad that you are also an Encanto fan. When my wife was pregnant with our twins, it was like right at the time where we just started like to let our oldest start to watch like some stuff on screens, and almost every day he would ask, "Watch Encanto?" Like he
Encanto?
just absolutely loved it, and he
It's
could like
so
keep his attention
good.
for like a pretty good like a long amount of time. And I was like, "Is it the colors? Is it the music?" It is
All of
such
it.
an incredible IP, and yeah, I'm jealous of that collection. I don't have any of those enchanteds. So speaking of like these dream characters, what is your like dream Disney character that doesn't have a card yet that you're just like, I can't wait to see this?
Ooh, okay. I cannot wait until they put Oliver and Company in Disney Lorcana, and Oliver, obviously. But I think I totally thought that Oliver and Company was going to be in Arcasia's Island because they were all about like the pets and everything. And I was like, Oliver and Company is coming, and then it didn't come, and I was like, oh man. But like, we need a Why Should I Worry card, yeah. So Oliver and Company.
I hope that card is good, because that
Yes.
song is amazing.
The song is so good.
Yeah, good point. Along the same realm of favorites, do you have a favorite card off the top of your mind, like favorite artwork? Or I'm guessing it might be Ariel related, but maybe I'm jumping the gun.
No, it's not art. So for favorite artwork, I forget which set it's in. Maybe Inklands, but it's the Sapphire song card, "Seldom All They Seem," and the artwork on it is gorgeous, and it's very much of like the style of Sleeping Beauty with the castle in the background, and it has Aurora and Philip dancing, and like it's Aurora and then like the animals in the cape dancing, but then in the reflection of the water, it's Ariel with her dress dancing with Prince Philip, and it's just the artwork on that is by far, it has been my favorite for ever since it hit, and nothing else has topped it yet. Everyone's looking it up.
Googling that quick. Hang on.
Yep.
I just looked at it. You're so right. The reflection is him, but the actual thing that she's dancing with is the woodland creatures.
Is the
that's amazing.
owl and stuff. Yeah,
Oh,
it's so
that's
good.
so cute.
And it also has
Oh,
like
my.
the geometric, like sacred geometry lines in the water too. And I got a chance to meet Rachel Elise, who's the artist for this card, and she's wonderful, and she's done some other amazing cards as well, and she signed a card for me, which was awesome. And yeah, I love the artwork on that.
Sweet. I think we might have two more. So my last one, I guess, will be we talked about your hype up music being the parks music, but if you had to pick a favorite movie soundtrack from the Disney universe, what would it be?
It's gonna be Encanto. It has to be. It's gotta be Encanto. It's so good. Every song in there is a banger.
It really is. Great songs.
Lin-Manuel Miranda, let me tell you, he knew what he was doing. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah, he knows a thing or two.
Okay, so we did talk a little bit tonight about like the differences between like some of the more like fun tribal decks and like more meta ones. What is one deck archetype that is like special to your heart that maybe it's not like gonna go win a DLC, but it's really fun to play and you enjoy it?
Ooh, there's so many. That is a really good question. Okay, I've made so many theme decks. I'm trying to think which one has been my favorite to play. I do like a good Ursula Eels deck. That one's fun. Also Magic Brooms, right? Magic Brooms was a super fun deck to play. That one was a lot of fun. And I feel it was like 1 or 2 cards shy from being like actually like super duper good. But I think that Brooms might be one of my favorite decks. Yeah.
Hey,
Interesting.
DLC champion right there at Brooms for sure.
Right?
And then our final rapid fire one here is, if someone is brand new to Lorcana today, what would you tell them makes this game so special?
Everything. I would say, Disney Lorcana has something for everyone. And so no matter what it is that you enjoy, there's going to be something for you. So whether you just want to collect the cards or play your fun theme decks or get into the competitive space, that there's a community here that will support you in that, and that you can have fun interacting and engaging with this game in whatever way brings you the most joy.
Love that. Well, Rebekah, thank you so much for your time to sit with these 3 dads and talk about your incredible rocket ship journey to Lorcana stardom. Before we close out this episode, the floor is yours. Any type of plug that you want, where can the people find you? The floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, I am Rebekah Quests everywhere on social media. So definitely on Instagram is where I am the most. I do have accounts on TikTok and Twitter. I'm not as active over there, and I'm starting to get more into YouTube. So if you want to come over to my YouTube channel, give it a subscribe, then that would be fantastic. I will be casting the upcoming CCQ that I mentioned in San Diego in a couple weeks, and then at the DLCs in June. So definitely tune in to the broadcast there. And thank you all. Thank you to the 3 of you for having me. It was a joy to be here, chat with you all about all things Disney Lorcana, and I appreciate it so much.
Well, I definitely speak for the 3 of us when I say we were so incredibly honored that you said yes to joining us. It's so incredible to hear like how people's journey started, and then how maybe fast that everything changed, and the journey that you're on is really special. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
As always, to everyone else out there, you can find us on YouTube where we post our video, otherwise Apple or Spotify for our audio. Again, go find Rebekah on the social media things. You won't be disappointed. They're so entertaining, I gotta say. But without any further ado, until our next episode, everybody, let's get the duck out of here.